What up, YouTube? Got a little rat, so I figured I would finally put a video out there explaining why Barry Bonds never used steroids and why I believe he never used steroids. So Barry was tied with Greg Anderson as his personal trainer. Greg Anderson was tied to some guys that said he gave them some cream or some clear or whatever it was, and those guys testified saying that they used these things and that he provided it with them. So of course, Barry Bonds, being one of his athletes that he trained, would fall in that, up underneath that umbrella. Now, Barry Bonds, up until 1998, already was en route for the Hall of Fame. The guy was great in the field and in the plate. And one notable thing is his rookie season, he struck out a little bit over 100 times. For the remainder of his career, he never struck out over 100 times again. And that's a testament to his ability at the plate, making contact with the baseball. He hit 762 home runs, but no one ever talks about how many balls he hit that got caught on the warning track for outs. So he wasn't a big strikeout guy. So you look at today's guys, power hitters who tested positive, those guys have high strikeout rates because in reality they go up hacking, and when they do get something, they probably hit a home run. But Barry Bonds, amongst being the #1 most walked batter in Major League Baseball, was also the guy who hit the most home runs in baseball. He's top 20 in doubles. Simply because he had great bat speed, great eyes, great hand-eye coordination, good head movement on the baseball. He let it travel and he let it fly. A lot of people say, he after he turned a certain age, 30 years old, he began, hitting unreal amounts of home runs. Well, yeah, that's true. He hit a lot of home runs. But again, when you're a great player, such as Michael Jordan, who had to go and get in the gym, when Detroit Bad Boys was knocking him around, LeBron James was a lot more trim when he came in the league. Derrick Henry's put on some weight in the NFL, but also muscle mass is out of control. You name it, there are many, many, many greats of all different sports that became greater gym rats than their peers, because that's part of what it takes to be the greatest. You have to out-train everybody else, out-practice them, outperform them. That's kind of how it goes. And that's what he did. He spent millions of dollars on becoming the best to ever play the game. Questions I have, are things like, how did his steroid use help his hand-eye coordination? Some of the research I've done says that it makes you a little bit more clumsy. How did he maintain such a cool composure amongst media who hated him? Now, he made, rude remarks and such towards the media, but he was never in an outrage. Typically a mild-mannered person. I hear people talk about his big old head, and that's a guarantee that he used steroids. Look at the way his head grew. You gotta talk about a lot of guys when you talk about somebody's head growing. And again, that's just one of those things. You look at a lot of older black males, they develop that, head neck growth area. My stepdad, his head seems bigger than it was when he was a younger man. It just happens. I don't know what it is. You look at a lot of people who play baseball, or not baseball, but just in general, and those guys grow over the time, they get older from when they're a young guy at 21, 22 years old to the time they're 40, you're going to see some changes in their physique. And then you get down to the court cases. People always say, well, he admitted to using the cream in the clear. He's never admitted to that. What he did say was, I was given a clear substance from my trainer that he told me was flaxseed oil, which was to treat arthritis. Now, how that became Barry Bonds admitting to using steroids, I don't know. But still, in 2022, I'm confused on that. There's a lot of hearsay in this. They raided the Balco labs and they found Barry Bonds' urine sample that he failed. Balco didn't put names on the urine samples. They knew better. So, with that being said, now you're just lying. That doesn't make any sense to prove a point. I'm trying to touch on all the allegations and the crazy things I've heard. He put on 35, 40 pounds. Muscle will do it to you. I have a brother who was in the Air Force, and if you to enlist in the Air Force, you can't be a real big person. Now he weighs well over 200 pounds of muscle. He gets in the gym. He's a gym rat. That's what he does. So that in itself is enough for me. I know plenty of people who have underwent extreme body changes due to simply being exposed to the right training and getting addicted to it. It happens. It becomes part of their lifestyle. They feel fat when they're not working out. When they're eating, they want to go work out afterwards. Everything pretty much revolves around working out. So I mean, it is what it is in terms of him getting bigger. That's what athletes do when they're the greatest. Now, some questions I need answered, and you can put them in the comments if you have the answers to this, is why wouldn't the MLB have everything to gain from making Barry Bonds look bad? Barry Bonds in 2003 told the MLB, you cannot profit off of my likeness anymore. September of 2003 is when they raided Balco and said that they found the damning evidence. Coincidence or not, I don't know. But even still, throughout that whole investigation, Barry Bonds continued to crank home runs. Now, either he was a bold man, continuing to abuse steroids during the whole investigation, but I feel like that's just too far-fetched. And again, the hand-eye coordination and the strikeouts remain low, and the hand-eye coordination remained solid. The bat, swing, everything was still the same as 1986. That's all power hitting is when you can get in a rhythm, make sure that swing is up to par, and you repeat it. You change your swing, you get a different outcome. Barry's swing was beautiful and almost perfect from the time he entered the league until the time he left, and it led to 762 home runs. He took money out of their mouths by not allowing them to make money off of his likeness. Lots and lots of money. We're talking about in the prime of his career, those baseball cards would be worth a lot of money. Those video games, different types of jerseys, all that revenue he blocked them from. Not to mention, he didn't swing a Louisville Slugger bat. he outsourced to pretty much a mom and pop bat company and paid anywhere from 40 to 60K and told the guy, I want you to stay in business at least until I retire. That way I can always get my bats from you. That led from the MLB having 2 bat companies to over 30 in today's game. And again, somebody will say, well, that's good. You know, there's a lot of bats. It took money out of the mouths of the MLB because their biggest sponsor was Louisville Slugger. That's a twofer. So, again, yes, he was not very nice with the press. But again, I'm pretty sure, allegedly, whatever you want to call it, that the MLB had a lot to do with the questions that were being asked at these conferences or interviews. And, of course, a lot of them were questioning his ability to play baseball. And his answer probably wasn't the cleanest, but, you know, that's expected. So I really don't know where we get this whole thing about Barry Bonds being a steroid user. He's innocent in court. They tried to get him. He served 6 months on house arrest. Came back and appealed, and they threw it out, acquitted him. Lack of evidence. But again, in 2022, people still say Barry Bonds used steroids, but there's no actual evidence. It's kind of interesting to me. But again, in my heart of hearts, he never used them. He's the greatest baseball player of all time. Only 400 member, only 500 member. Most home runs, most times walked. Got intentionally walked with the bases loaded. You name it, Barry's done it on that baseball field. And it's just a tragedy that they put in a rule to keep him from being in the Hall of Fame. They even he even got him a job down in Miami as a hitting coach. And before the year was over with, the owner had drugged him, saying, you know, all he did was want to hang out with the players, and he didn't he argued about his salary to begin with, blah blah blah. If he argued with his salary to begin with, you had the right to hire him or not. That's your fault. So you accepted him based on his negotiated salary. Now you want to talk about it in the end after you fire him and say he wasn't doing his job, and that all he did was want to hang out with the players and show up to practice late. But if you go back, and you know, I'm wanting to do some research, you go back and you look at their batting statistics from that year, they were top 5 in a couple of more than one category. So it's interesting that he lost that job so quickly. They didn't even announce it. Like, they didn't even put much, you know, publicity behind it when he got that job. A lot of people I talk to say, hey, I didn't even know he had that job. Go look at it. It's right there. And pretty much ousted him from baseball because of speculations of using steroids that neither the MLB or the federal government could find any evidence to fully support. Now, in this country, I ask this question: are you innocent until proven guilty, or guilty or until proven innocent? And once you are acquitted, are you guilty? I'm out, y'all. Leave the comments in the comment section.